All right, hello, Metal Maniacs. It's the Meister from Brews and Tunes. Cheers. I'm very, very excited today. I am chatting with the one and only Mr. Norman Skinner. How are you doing, sir? How's it going today?
I'm doing good. It's Friday, at least when we're recording this, so I'm in a good mood, ready for the weekend.
All right, cheers to that. That's for sure. I am as well. And I'm sorry, I should have mentioned you're in multiple bands and been in multiple bands over the years. So people may know you from Imagika, ex Imagika vocalist, Hellscream, Niviane, and then of course your band Skinner, and you've done some other projects as well, but those are kind of the biggies. So and I apologize, I should have mentioned that in your introduction, but yeah, and all killer bands, a lot of amazing stuff you've been doing over the years. So very, very excited to be chatting with you, and especially today, because today is well, you've got some exciting news, brand new release out today, the brand new Skinner album. Dark
That's
Design,
right. The
I
Dark
believe, right?
Design
Dark
released
Design.
today.
Excellent,
Yeah.
excellent, very cool. And where can people hear that? Where can they pick that up?
So it's so digitally it's everywhere. I mean, any streaming platform, any place where you can purchase MP3s, you'll find it. You know,
Cool.
if anyone wants a physical copy, there's only one place to get that, and that's my website, normanskinner.net.
Okay,
So
perfect.
that is it. I have signed. So when I was shopping this album around, this is my solo stuff. I had a couple of deals, record deals that came through, and there was nothing that I couldn't do myself. And I was just like, what, I think I'm just going to release this on my own label. So I run my own label called Dead Inside Records. It used to be a worldwide label. I had a few bands on there, made some releases on it. And then when I wanted to concentrate back on just my music, I folded the label, but I kept it just for my own personal stuff in case I wanted to release anything. So yeah, so this time around, I was like, you know what, my solo album, I'm going to keep it all in house and do it all myself. So
Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. And what can you I mean, I've heard the album and it's brilliant. I love it. I think it's great. Just some really killer songs on there. You've got a killer band backing you up. So yeah, what can you tell us about kind of the culmination of that and how this album came to be? And I know you released building up to the album, there were several singles that were released over the last several
yeah.
months. And all killer stuff, of course. But yeah, kind of talk a little bit about, for those that aren't familiar, maybe with Skinner, kind of what is Skinner?
Sure. So Skinner really formed right at the tail end of Imagika. So when Imagika first kind of folded in 2010, some of the former members, asked me out to lunch, talked with me, and they're like, "Hey, man, we want to continue to do something with you." And I was like, "All right, sure, why not?" Because at that time I was wanting to branch out. I was wanting to do like, I remember I joined a progressive metal band for a while.
Mhm.
I was getting into some sci-fi power metal band, and just I was branch. I wanted to do other things other than just sort of the thrashier stuff, just to try it out. And the bass player Jim Pegram at the time, he's like, "Yeah, we'll call it Skinner." And I'm like, no, we're not, we're not calling it Skinner. He's like, "Why not, man? People know who you are, and your
Yeah.
last name sounds cool, so why not?" And I'm like, "All right." But first and foremost, I'm not that big of an egotist, but let's do it. So the first round of Skinner, I released an album, and there's like a couple stages, right? We released an EP, which was just supposed to be a demo, called "The Enemy Within" in 2012, and we were just getting hit up because people were like, "Well, what are you guys doing?" Because there was a lot of people from Imagika, so the fans were like, "What is it? We want to hear it."
Right.
And we were just doing a little demo that we were going to shop. We decided, this sounds pretty decent. There's like 5 songs that we're like, let's just put this out as an EP. So we released the Enemy Within EP. People were digging it. It was thrashy, but more like with some power metal influence in it. Then we re-recorded all those songs with all the other additional tracks and released in 2014 our debut album, Sleepwalkers. Now, at that time, this was a band. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because the album that released today is a solo album.
Oh,
There
okay.
is no Skinner band. at that time there was a Skinner band. So the Sleepwalkers album was actually the band Skinner,
Okay.
a whole different lineup, me with a lot of musicians. That fell apart in 2015, and I didn't have a lineup anymore. So I decided to just work with various musicians.
Okay.
So I started hand picking who I wanted to work with, which songs, what structure, just the overall sound of the album and everything. So what you heard is just everything that I was envisioning that I wanted an album to be. I wanted it to be modern. I wanted it to be heavy. I wanted a little bit of thrash, a little bit of power metal. I wanted the whole spectrum of everything I like to do. And then vocally, I could run the gambit on it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So that's the difference. And I just started working, and it was always taking a back seat because I had all these other bands. I was in all these other albums I was putting out. So that's why it took from 2015 till now to get it all done and released.
Hmm.
And that's just, there's the transition from Skinner the band to Skinner the solo project.
Okay, very cool. Interesting. I didn't realize that. That's interesting. And so
Yeah.
it being a solo project, so as far as, I mean, obviously you write the lyrics. You also write the music, or do you work with the
No,
various musicians?
correct. Yeah. So for those that don't know that portion about me, I play zero instruments.
Hmm.
I strictly just sing. I've pretty much every project I've ever been in, I write all the lyrics. I take care of all the melodies. I'm also usually, at least with like the last 5, 6 albums I've been in, I'm heavily into the structures of the songs.
Okay.
So, like with my band Niviane, they give me full reign to structure everything, take their songs and Benihana, chop it up and put it back together. So, and I
Right.
did that also with my current album because I'm a firm believer in good songwriting.
Hmm.
I want a build up, I want a pre-chorus, I want that big catchy chorus. I just don't want a bunch of cool riffs thrown together.
Right.
Um, so yeah, there you go.
Nice. Yeah, that was one thing I was going to say is it seems, in listening to especially the new album, but also your other projects, it always feels like it's really well plotted. It's really well thought out. And not to say that it doesn't have emotion, but it just seems like you've really constructed these songs really well. Like as you mentioned, it doesn't feel like just some riffs thrown together. It feels like
Right.
you really put a lot of thought into, how you're going to structure not just the songs, but the album itself. At least
Yeah,
that's
oh yeah.
as a listener, that's the feel that I get from it, is that it's
No,
really
you're
well,
spot on.
yeah, really
You're
well
spot on.
plotted.
Everything, each song, even the way I put them together in the track list order, I'm very methodically figuring out how do they flow into each other,
Hmm.
what's the pace of the album, everything. So, and the good thing about it being a solo thing is, in the end, I get the last word, right? So
Right.
it's going to be the way I want it. I get to be the control freak. It's all
Yeah.
about me.
Well, that
So,
works.
but yeah, and I think if it wasn't working, then the bands would let me know. They'd be like, dude, I don't know. So
Yeah. Yeah. But I think, I mean, I think that's really important, especially, for artistic integrity. I think, and I think you've really created uh, a good, solid, album, a very artistic, interesting. And that's one thing you mentioned, there's lots of different elements to it, and different
yeah,
influences, thrash metal and kind of a more modern sound with some of it. And yeah, you can definitely tell. Especially I'm an album guy, so I don't just listen to a song, I listen to albums. And so it's interesting to listen to the transitions throughout that song or throughout the album especially with your vocals and the change in vocal kind of presentation. As you mentioned, kind of more thrashier stuff and then more melodic stuff. It's a cool musical journey. It's fun to listen to. And I would say that
that's
that's true of all of your projects.
oh, thank you. That's the main thing I was going for this new album. And then, I mean, to be completely honest and transparent, I was scared to death for what the reviews would be like and how people would perceive this album, because this is my first true solo album. Even
Mm,
though I've had things under Skinner, if people didn't like it, it all falls on me because from beginning to end, I'm the one that had the vision of how I wanted everything to come together. And I like to run the gamut. I like to change it up, even within a song, right? I'll use multiple different voices and things. And I just, I created something that I would want to listen to.
Cool.
you know, and I was hopeful that other people would get kind of what I was going for. And so far, you know, I've read like 3 reviews today. They've all been super positive, and I'm getting
Oh,
great
good.
feedback from people. And it's funny what they're saying. They're like, you know, this isn't a full on just, you know, wow album, and it's not just a melodic out, you know, it's everything. It's like a book of just stories, and you know, it's
Yeah.
like you said, it's a sort of an adventure. And I like hearing that. That's very cool feedback to get, you know,
Yeah.
as an artist.
Yeah,
So
that's great. That's yeah, and it's a great album. Um, so in saying that, especially with the various sounds and influences on there, speaking of influence, I was really curious about your influences as far as both vocally and as a songwriter, kind of where, you know, kind of where are your inspirations coming from as far as not just necessarily other musicians, but just kind of in general, I guess.
it's God, I could touch on that question on different levels. Let's start off with vocal and influences. So for me, it's changed over the years. I picked up things as I've gone through my earliest days. You know, I remember first listening to, you know, like Robert Plant, and being, you know, oh man, this guy's, you know, so super flamboyant, but also like got this killer voice, and, you know, and that was at my earliest age. And then I kind of went through, I was a kid watching MTV, a lot of hair metal, a little bit of new wave of British heavy metal thrown in. So I'd see some of that. I'd, you know, pick up on a little Rob Halford, you know,
Oh yeah.
and then over time, I really got into power metal, and I love singers like Matt Barlow from former Iced Earth. It's one of my favorites. I love Russell Allen from Symphony X.
Oh yeah.
Um, but then I also love a lot of the heavier stuff, so like Chuck Billy from Testament. I love to listen like John Tardy from Obituary.
Mhm.
You know, Jesse Leach from Killswitch Engage. You know, throw a little Bjorn in there from Soilwork. So, you know, and one of my like favorites, you know, back in the day, that I first kind of sparked the idea of like, wow, I could do a lot of different voices and put a lot of layers and flavors on stuff. It was Faith No More. It was Mike Patton.
Oh wow.
I was listening to him, and I'm like, this guy's like different. He's
Yeah.
like, you know, he changed his voice and stuff. So I kind of took that path. And then kind of getting into the same question for musically, it's the same thing. I blame all my friends in high school, and here's why. And you'll probably know exactly what I'm talking about. So I was that kid that went to high school. I think I had a Poison shirt on, and met all the other rock. I didn't know any other metalheads. I didn't really know all these other bands. And they spotted me on. They're like, dude, what are you wearing that shirt for, man? Blah blah blah. Why don't you wear like this band or this band? I'm like, I don't know those bands. That changed. Then all of a sudden they're coming to school with those little mixtapes, you know, where you put the tape over
Oh yeah.
the and you just put different songs. So I became the science project for all the metalheads. They would
Cool.
want to like check out this band. And I'd hear everything from like, you know, Fate's Warning to Sabotage to, you know, Death Angel, everything in between. So I got used to listening to a lot of different sounds, a lot of different things. So put that together with the whole vocal thing, where I like the different
Mhm.
sounds and stuff, and the music, and then that's why I change. I don't know. I guess that's why they call me the metal chameleon, because just like to change it up. I like within a song to do different voices and layers, and just I don't want to be like a band that's just like you hear him and the singer does the one voice on every single song, and then he might do a little harmony on a chorus or something, but there's nothing to it. I'd rather paint a picture,
Yeah.
you know, with my voice, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
At least that's
definitely.
what I try to do. I mean, I could, you know, sit here and say, but that's kind of how my projects come together. You know, I just hear stuff, and I might be thinking of something that I heard from Great White as an influence, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, but now I hear something more In Flames. You know, who would put these things together? But
All right.
it's whatever I've been listening to, and whatever. And I still listen to a lot of shit. I
Oh,
listen to
cool.
stuff from pop rock up to like, you know, black metal and everything in between.
Nice.
It's all metal or rock, but it's, you know, very light poppy stuff all the way to really extreme stuff. So just whatever I'm feeling.
Cool. I like that. I think that's I think that is important, that to have kind of those various outlets and to really understand kind of how music influences other you know, genres, you know, change and influence. I've always gotten frustrated with people like, I only listen to black metal. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, why would you
Yeah,
do that? You know, because I listen to everything
it's
too,
like
like black metal, whatever, you know.
right, a little open mind. You never know. I mean, I never know what I'm going to like.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, so you being in the media, I guarantee you get sent all sorts of stuff where you're like, ugh, pass. You
Right.
know, and I'll try to ask friends for advice on albums and music every once in a while, and then they send stuff, and I'm listening to it. I'm like, God, they don't know me at all.
Right.
Usually, the stuff I find that I like, I find on my own, and I never know where it's going to come from. It just I hear something, so
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm the same way. That's funny. That's cool.
there you go.
Um, so kind of speaking about, you know, you mentioned high school and getting into metal at that time. So I was curious about kind of musically where your roots came from. Like, you know, did you come from a musical family? When did you start singing? Kind of how did that start for you?
It's a great story. I've told it a few times over the years in some interviews when they ask it, but I don't think it's common knowledge. So my singing journey is a complete accident. It's a
Really?
fluke. Yes. I was I was about in seventh grade and I was watching like a Slaughter video or some Motley Crue, and I saw the girls and I'm like, there we go. That's I need to play guitar, right? I'm like, that's how you get the chicks. I'm a horny teenage kid and
All
thinking
right.
about girls, right? So I asked my parents for a guitar. I'm thinking I'm gonna get like a Marshall Stack and a Flying V. And I got this nylon string classical guitar, acoustic, and some Mel Bay teach yourself how to play books. That lasted about 3 weeks before I threw it in the closet. Sausage fingers, can't do anything. Fast forward to high school. I gave that guitar to a friend who was hanging out. He started jamming with some guys and learning to play.
Hmm.
So they were putting together like a little group for the high school talent show,
Okay.
which a lot of bands do in school.
Yeah.
I was like the fifth Beatle. I was like the guy hanging out in the room, just at the rehearsals and just hanging out and whatever. I guess about 2 to 3 weeks before the talent show, their singer bailed on them. So I get the call and they're like, dude, you got to sing. I don't sing. I've never sang in my life. I sing in the shower. And they're like, come on, man, it'll be fun. So I'm always up for an adventure. So I did the talent show.
Oh, wow.
We got disqualified for people stage diving and pitting, which was great. And I kind of caught the bug. I loved that live feeling. And mind you, I sucked. I was really bad. But I just started hashing it out in local bands and garages and moving my way up to clubs. And I'm a self-taught singer. So I just kind of would hear things and teach myself to be better. And if I thought I was weak in a certain spot, I would work on that. And that's kind of how it happened. So completely by accident, man, completely. And here I am. I don't know.
That's wild. And that's amazing that you're self-taught too, because you have such a huge vocal range. I would have assumed you had taken voice lessons.
No, I think I could count. I think I've had 4 lessons in my entire life. I had 2 in like '97 when I was really trying to get like better, and I learned some fundamentals. And then I just took that and then kind of went. And then later throughout the years, I think 1 or 2 other times, I met with a vocal coach one-on-one to get rid of like bad habits.
Hmm.
But other than that, the rest of the time, it's just doing my homework, just like any you know, self guitar player that sits there in the room and works it out. Same thing for singing. Same thing.
Well, that's cool. That's really cool. That gives hope to not me. I'm a terrible singer, but I have no chance ever, and I can't play any instruments either. My children are very musical. I am not. So
that's cool.
I like to listen.
Passing the torch.
Yeah, I like to listen to it. I enjoy I love music, but yeah, I wish I could play. I wish I could sing, but I'm awful.
I wish I could play too. I can't tell you how many times I started trying to play guitar and then gave up again.
Yeah.
And I tried to play bass once, drums. I can kind of do some drums, but it's like then I always just go back to I'm just gonna sing.
Wow, that's cool. That's cool. That's amazing. So tell me a little bit about Niviane. We haven't really talked too much about that, and I know
Sure.
kind of a little bit heavier, more thrashy band, at least to some degree than some of your other stuff.
we're like we're considered heavy U.S. power metal,
Okay.
right? But we're like yeah. So the best review I saw, I think it was on our last album. Somebody said the reviewer said it's like if Amon Amarth and Primal Fear had a baby, and
Hmm.
I was like, okay, I like that. That's cool. Um, so the way that happened is, funny enough, it kind of segues from the Skinner thing. When that lineup had fallen apart in 2015, that same year, I met up with the Niviane guys and we formed the band.
Okay.
So since then, we released two albums. 2017, our debut, The Druid King, came out. In our first, like, we just put like the album cover and like the lyrics popping up. It's real basic, and that went up to like 10,000 views, like right away. Our first song. So we were like, I think we might have something here. Like people might actually like this. Um, so that went good. We did a few U.S. tours on with that album with Sirenia. We did one. We did another one with Vicious Rumors.
Oh,
Then we
nice.
did our follow up, our second album, The Ruthless Divine. We released that in 2020 during the pandemic.
Right.
And then I think in 2021 we did a full U.S. tour with Soulfly,
Oh,
which
cool.
was cool. That was a big one.
Yeah,
So
that's great.
so that we just kind of we're slowly trying to climb, just like every other band, trying to put out things and just see what happens. We've done about 3 music videos with that band that are all cool. We put a lot of time and effort in our videos. So if people haven't seen a Niviane video, go check it out. We actually do storylines and just really we spend a lot of money on stuff. But our third album, we haven't announced the title yet. I know what it is. Our third album is currently being mixed right now and
Oh,
mastered.
excellent.
So
Oh, I was just
yeah,
about to
so
ask.
it's going to be coming out. Most likely, we're looking at beginning of next year if all goes
Okay.
well.
Oh, very
So
cool.
yeah, so Niviane fans can expect album number 3 coming their way. That will be my next release. Looks
Excellent.
like.
Very cool. Yeah, I thought the last album, the Ruthless Divine, was excellent. Really loved it. And it's funny because it's funny that you mentioned Matt Barlow of Iced Earth fame and Ashes of Berries, because I think the first time I heard Niviane, I kind of had to do a double take because I thought it was Matt Barlow at first. Vocally, I like that sounds like Matt, and then it changed, like, no, that's not Matt Barlow, but that kind of sounded like him. And I had to look at it, like, oh no, it's Niviane. Okay, cool. Yeah, because I can tell some of the influence there a little bit, even though you have you have your own distinct voice. But it was just like I can't remember which song it was. It was just kind of the opening notes, and it sounded kind of like Matt. And I'm like, oh wow, that's cool. um, so sorry, did I freeze up there? My
Yeah, you
internet's a
did.
little wonky.
Yeah, last thing I heard was that you're like you had to do a double take. You're like, oh, it sounds like Matt Barlow a bit.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Sorry.
then you were in a Vogue pose.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, yeah, my internet's a little wonky tonight.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's all good, man.
yeah, I was just saying that, yeah, just it was just kind of those initial notes sort of sounded like Matt Barlow. Yeah, and I was like, wow, is that? And then I realized it wasn't, but I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's, I mean, you definitely have a distinct voice, but
Yeah, he's I mean, I started getting the comparisons to Matt Barlow in my with my first Imagika album.
hmm,
People were like, oh, blah blah blah, Matt Barlow, Iced Earth, and I was like, that's fantastic, and it makes sense because he's easily a top 5 vocal favorite of mine,
yeah,
if not top 3. I mean, he's absolutely an influence, 100%. Everything he does, even other projects he's been in, Pyramids like that. I know he did an album with them, and
yeah,
I'm just a big fan,
yeah,
big fan of Mr. Barlow.
yeah. As am I. Yeah, and he's a nice guy. He's a really nice guy. He's a cool dude.
I know we're friends on Facebook, and I've met him once, but I don't think he would know who I am. And it was just we were at a Prog Power festival in Atlanta, and I just was like, oh, Matt Barlow. I shook his hand real quick outside. He was talking to me, and that was basically it. I'm one of those guys. I don't like to bother people,
Yeah,
at all.
yeah.
I'm not like, hey, so. But I actually do hope one day to sing with that guy. That'd be great.
Oh,
I'd love
that'd be
to
really cool.
have on him on summer. Have whatever.
Yeah,
We did both. There's a band called Halcyon Way, and they had a thing called I think it was called the Nailhead Choir, and they had various vocalists that they brought on board. I think like Todd Latour was one, Queensryche, Matt Barlow, I was one, and we all did the backups together that we recorded, and then they put it together. So,
All right. Oh, I did want to ask you also about Hellscream, which it's kind of a two-man project, right? You with Dave Garcia, of course, of Cage and the Three Tremors. And is that still an ongoing project? I know you guys did a couple albums.
I don't think so. I think that's pretty much run its course.
Okay.
We met at NAMM. Well, we had Imagika and Cage had like played a festival, I think in Ohio. I think it was Warriors of Metal Fest or some 3, I think is what it was. And they were headlining one night or main support one night. And we were, I think, main support on the second. Yeah, Hellscream. So Cage and Imagika had played the same festival in Ohio. And then I think a year or two later, I happened to bump into Dave Garcia at NAMM down in Anaheim. And he was telling me that Sean was busy doing some other projects and he had some time on his hands. And he actually, if it's funny, he actually mentioned he was going to be doing a project with Neil Turbin, former Anthrax singer. Oh, wow. And I go, and I remember saying, "Oh, don't do anything with Neil. You should do something with me." and he's like, "Oh, maybe I'll send you something sometime." And a couple months later, he sent me a song. And that song became Phoenix We'll Rise, which is on the first album. And what's funny is I did the demo. I did that as a demo, the vocals, and I sent it to him. And he's like, "Oh yeah, we're going to do an album together." Cool. That song, I never re-recorded it. That version is the one on the album. Oh, it's just yeah. So I guess it was good enough. But yeah, we did that album. I think it was self-released. It didn't get a lot of exposure, but the few reviews we got were great. And people were like, "This stuff's great. It's a traditional metal, speed metal, just right in your face." He had a few guys from Cage fill in here and there, but it was really just him and I. And I think the drums on that are programmed, honestly. I don't even think that they're real drums. So we weren't sure if we were going to do another album. And then a few years later, he started sending me songs for what became the album Hate Machine. This time around, it was basically Cage. He had all the Cage guys play all the instruments. So it's basically Cage without Sean. It's me instead. So we did that album. It got released on Pure Steel Records out of Germany. Got a much bigger push. We even had some vinyl made. The reviews were I don't think they were as good as the first album, but they were still really positive. But the thing is, it was like a side project for both of us. We'd only met a couple times. We've never performed live. And it's hard to push something like that when you're concentrating on your own bands. Yeah. And then he ended up launching Three Tremors, and that's all of Cage and stuff. And that like took over all the time. And I was trying to concentrate on my stuff too. And I really wanted to get my solo album out. So I was like, yeah, I think we'll leave it at 2. I mean, the door's still open in the future. Maybe one day we might throw something together, but I have a lot of things I can't talk about just yet. Some big news coming down the pipeline for me that will keep me a little too busy for that, unfortunately. Okay. Fortunately, but unfortunately.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
I was curious about with Skinner, especially with the new album out. Do you have any intentions of touring as kind of a solo act at this
Zero.
point? Zero. Okay.
Zero. Yeah, I did do one show locally in the Bay Area because a fan who his band was playing a show asked, he's like, "Hey, I'm really a fan of your Skinner stuff, and I see you got this album in the works and blah blah blah. Would you guys play a show?" So I brought it up to the guys. I'm like, "You guys want to play any of these new songs?" They're like, "Sure." So, but it was a hassle, man. My drummer wasn't able to actually do the show, so then I had to hire somebody who had to learn all the songs, and then I had to get a second guitar player because I have different players on all the stuff, so they all had to learn stuff. I had to rent a rehearsal spot. It's a lot. Right. So for me to do it, it would have to be like a big festival. Like a festival would have to be like, "Hey, we want to book you." Then I'll put together a live band, get a list together of songs and do it. But a full tour, I just don't see it happening because I'd have to get all these guys and I'd have to make sure they were getting paid. And
yeah,
at my level, you know, it's not doable, unfortunately.
Gotcha. How about Niviane? Do you guys have anything lined up in terms of live shows coming up this year?
Yeah, we have a. I think we're playing a local show in a couple weeks. Another power metal band. I think they're out of Michigan. Lords of the Trident is coming through, and they asked if we would book a local date with them. So
Cool.
we contacted the venue. We're going to jump on. It's like a Wednesday show, local Wednesday. We'll see what the turnout's like, but you know that should be fun. Outside of that, we have a big show with Hammerfall when they tour through, lined up in June. We have a festival called Metal in the Mountains. I think it's, I don't know where it is. I think it might be Nevada. I don't know, but we have a festival also in June, and then we might have another little local show in September. But currently, the status of that band is we lost our drummer in October,
Oh,
so
no.
we've been miserably auditioning and trying to get people to fill the slot. Our stuff is not easy to play, so we do have 2 auditions this month, 2 different guys. So hopefully that gets fixed, and then we can start performing more. And of course, once the new album is released, whether it be the end of the year or the beginning of the year after, we will do a full blown tour. And we're hoping to get bigger and bigger tours as we have. So like the last one was a Soulfly. We're going to aim that or bigger.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, definitely.
So yeah,
keep an eye.
definitely live dates. Niviane is, you know, between Niviane and Skinner, which are technically the only like real 2 projects I have right now. Niviane's the one that plays out. That's the one that plays and tours.
Gotcha. Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
I was curious, you know, so you know, your band from, you know, further back, you know, Imagika, and I know you guys reformed in 2018 and put out an album in 2019. Do you think there'll ever be another reunion again? Do you think you guys will get back together at some point? Or you're so busy. I don't know if it's possible.
Right. I can confidently say I don't know. Well, here's the thing, right? It's you know, when I was the one that left Imagika in 2010, and then they had issues finding a replacement singer, and then that's when the guitar player Steve Rice said, "All right, I'm putting this one to bed," and he started his band Kill Ritual. So, and then he's gone on to do, you know, multiple albums with that, and you know, that's fine. They were doing a tour with Iced Earth, and what's that other band? Witherfall, I think. No, Sanctuary. Iced Earth and Sanctuary.
Oh, wow.
But it had the Witherfall singer. Anyway, and then we just happened to, the bass player was there, from Imagika. I was there. Steve was there because there was a lot of bad blood, sort of. After he was really mad at me for leaving.
Gotcha.
I kind of got blamed for the whole downfall of Imagika and stuff. So we buried the hatchet, and then you know, I was like, yeah. He's like, hey, would you ever be open to writing some songs and doing something again? And I said, sure. And really quickly, he started sending me songs, you know, and I just wrote everything real quick, got it back to him. It was like business as usual, you know. We just kind of put out another album. We played 2 local shows just for our fans. They were okay. And then I got really, a lot of people don't know this, I got really sick during the pandemic. Not it was I had a side effect from my first shot.
Oh, wow.
And it actually left me with tinnitus, and
Oh, no.
I had a bunch of other stuff. So I'm way better now, but I mean, that's still there, but I'm good. And at that time, I was like needing to clear my plate off and just focus on me. And I decided to step away from Hellscream and Imagika at the same time. So, but yeah, like you said, I have some other big things coming down the pipeline that will definitely keep me busy. But you know, I'll keep the door open. You know, you never know. We created some really cool stuff, so you know, we might collaborate in the future on something, even if it's a one-off single here and there. Cool. I know some people like albums, but you know, maybe a few songs, just release them here and there for fun. Who knows?
Nice. I know you mentioned, you know, you've got some big things coming that you can't really talk about.
Yeah.
Can you hint at all?
All
I know I'll put you on the spot.
Yeah, all I can say is that yeah, that's not really much I can say. It's big news. It's really big news for me. I'm super excited. I can't wait for the world to hear this. It's one of those things where when the news gets released, my phone's going to blow up.
Wow.
So
Ooh, something really
yeah,
good.
yeah. So
That's cool.
yeah,
I'm excited
so
to.
you can hit me up afterwards and be like, oh, okay.
Nice. Yeah.
But
All
yeah, but
right.
I'm unable to discuss it, unfortunately.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah,
Um,
I can talk about something else nobody knows about. Give you
oh yeah.
some sort of exclusive. So I am working with a couple guys. My buddy Alex, he's out of Portugal, and then he has a buddy of his who's in a really big band called Gothard from
Oh wow.
I think they're from Germany or whatever,
Yeah.
or Switzerland. But we started writing some songs. It's very atmospheric hard rock with some metal kind of put in. Fun stuff. So we started messing with stuff. There's no name for the project. We don't know if it'll be a full band. We don't. It's so early, but we're having fun just kind of collaborating across the ocean with each other. So,
Nice.
but yeah, so there's something new that I haven't talked with anybody about. You're the first, so I'll give you that.
Very
So
cool. Thank you.
anybody
Yeah,
and any
that's
fans, yeah, any fans that are watching this, they'll be like, oh, okay, something new.
yeah, that's exciting. That's exciting. Well,
Yeah,
I mean, again, you've got so much on your plate already. You know, and already cool, exciting news, especially with the release of the second Skinner album, or kind of the first, I guess, solo Skinner album today,
right.
which is great. Yeah, and like I said, I've been really digging it. I did want to ask you, and this has nothing to do with music, but it's hard to see. Do I
Sure.
see action figures behind you?
Yes, you do.
Awesome.
So yeah, so I am a vintage Masters of the Universe collector.
Oh, right on.
So those are old He-Man 80s. I got all sorts. I collect the vintage line only, none of the new
Okay.
stuff, just the vintage ones. And I also collect pretty much anything pop Funko that's Masters of the Universe because those things are damn too cute.
Right.
They're addicting. So,
Nice.
but yeah, I have a Skeletor right
Oh,
here,
wow. Very
an
cool.
epic Skeletor
That
tattoo.
is
So
epic.
yeah, I'm a big Masters Universe fan. So
Right on. That's super cool.
there you go.
I'm unfortunately wearing a long sleeve t-shirt. I have a Skeletor tattoo right here.
What?
Not as cool as yours, but
That's awesome.
yeah, I have it's just it's like from the cartoon where he's just laughing, but
Right,
I have two purple
the Menace
crossbows.
one.
Yeah. So
Nice.
yeah.
See,
Yeah, and
love it.
I do have the original Skeletor action figure, you know, the old line. Just Skeletor. I don't have anything else, but I do have Skeletor. So, but yeah, I was looking
So
as we've been talking.
if we ever see each other in person, we gotta do like we have to take a picture of us with our tattoos.
Yeah, definitely. Even though
Same
yours
arm, be
is
like,
much cooler than mine, but
oh wow. I mean, I spent a lot of money on that bastard.
yeah, that's badass. That is cool. I love it. That's great. Yeah, yeah. Wow, that is awesome. Yeah, I as we were chatting, I'm like, those look like action figures. I got to ask about because I love toys. So, action
Yeah, that's just that. I mean, I got a lot, man. I just you know, like kids when they're little, you know, they especially, you know, I'm 48, so you know, I'm definitely a kid of the 80s,
Hmm.
and you know, that's what I played with. I played with all my He-Man, and my brother, you know, he had Transformers and GI Joe, real Ghostbusters, Sectors, you know, all these things, Legos, Hot Wheels. I only played with my He-Man. That was it. So
Oh, that's cool.
that's what I liked. So you know, we all have that inner child in us still, right?
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
Mine are. I mean, like I said, I've got you know, I've got the Skeletor figure, but my wife gave that to me. Not just a couple of years ago. It's yeah, it's kind of an inside joke between us. I can't get into, but yeah, mine are Star Wars action figures. I have all mine
ah,
from when I was a kid. So
nice.
yeah, I'm
Got that
similar in
little
age.
Darth Vader head.
I wish I still had that. I don't. Um, yeah, I've yeah. Um, oh, looks like we
I
locked up again.
I I can hear you though.
Okay, cool. Sorry.
Yeah, you're looking fine so far.
So frustrating. Yeah. So I've got lots of Star Wars figures. That's cool. That's cool. Well, anyway, so Norman, this has been an absolute pleasure and an honor chatting with you. For those watching, definitely read in the description below. You'll see links to his pages. Definitely go to normanskinner.net. Check out the new album, the Dark Design. It's great. If you know, I'd buy a physical copy or stream. Unbelievable.
You're at the finish line, man.
Yeah, lost the connection again. Anyway, let's start. So for all you watching, definitely check out in the description below. I've got links to all of Norman's band's pages, but go to normanskinner.net. Download the new album, buy the new physical copy of the new album. You will not be sorry. It kicks ass. So Norman, thank you again so much. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you, brother, so much.